let us now get to some basketball talk. We welcome in from the TSN 690 coverage of the NBA and all things basketball, a former Canadian Olympian. You can follow him on twitter.com/bballinsider and hear him, I believe, every Thursday morning on the morning show. It's Mr. Dwight Walton. How you doing, sir?
Good night, Matthew. How are you?
I am very well. Very well, thanks. Are you jealous of the Clippers as a Laker fan, or how's that going so far this year?
I'm not jealous. I mean, hey, I'm happy for their success, but they still have a lot of things to prove. I know they're having a great season, but they have a long way to catch up to the Lakers edition that's already happened. So, but just the way they're playing, the way a lot of the teams in the Western Conference are playing, it should be a very, very fun playoff series come April.
Yeah, it seems like it's not that far away all of a sudden as we turn into January.
Yeah, it's getting a lot closer, that's for sure.
Elsewhere in the NBA, I'm looking at the standings, and I don't like what I see as a Boston Celtics fan at a 16-17 record, Dwight, but two wins in a row, including last night in ATL, where the Hawks had a big, big lead, and the Celtics look like an old-school Celtics team, playing some defense, being stingy in the second half, and the big guys coming through. To me, I saw that, and I said, you know what, if you can bottle that, play that way for most of the rest of the way, it's going to be a fun playoff.
Well, that's the way we expected the Boston Celtics, Matthew, to play from the beginning of the season. But when you incorporate new players into a system, and when those new players are expected to be major contributors from the beginning of the season, it takes time for guys to get acclimatized to what's going on. You're bringing Jason Terry into the fold. You're hoping Jeff Green, after his significant heart procedure last year, he's still trying to get himself into shape. He's still trying to get his legs under him, but he's being counted on to be a major contributor to the team. Then you have Leandro Barbosa, Jared Sullinger, Avery Bradley's been hurt for most of the year until coming back on Friday night, or last Wednesday night, excuse me. It's still a work in progress. Do the Celtics have to make changes? Maybe they do, and I'm sure that's what they're thinking about going forward here as the season goes on. But I'll never doubt any Doc Rivers coach-led team. And as dire as it may look right now, and yes, the Celtics aren't the same offensive team that they were 3-4 years ago. Yes, they're not the same defensive team they were 3-4 years ago. But they're still a team to be reckoned with. Maybe not during this regular season, but they'll get it together enough to make the playoffs. And I, for one, if I'm an opposing coach, Matt, I wouldn't want to play those guys in the playoffs. Are they as good as years past? No, but they're still a formidable opponent, and an opponent that teams should still be very, very aware of come playoff time.
Hear, hear. All right, let's move on and talk about a team that I'm not affiliated with in any way. The Portland Trailblazers, Dwight, are 18-15, having a pretty good start to the year in the Western Conference, specifically, obviously, in the Northwest. In fact, second in that division right now, pending, obviously, what happens with the Denver Laker game going on right now. How are they doing it, the Portland Trailblazers?
It's all about Damian Lillard, Matt. He is right now the consensus Rookie of the Year. Definitely knew about him coming out of Weaver State up in Utah. Has led the NCAA in scoring, I believe, last year for sure, maybe the last 2 years running. A tremendous talent, number 6 pick overall to the Portland Trailblazers this year. He has totally changed that franchise around. And I have to give all credit to the head coach, Terry Stotts, because if you look at that roster, besides their starting 5, they don't have too much bench productivity during the course of games. So for them to be afloat as they are right now is a true testament to the coaching staff of Terry Stotts. Of course, my good friend Jay Triano is also a part of that staff. LaMarcus Aldridge is having a pretty decent year. He isn't the same dominant player that he has been in the years past, but he is still an extremely good big man. Luke Babbitt off the bench. Nicholas Batum is playing extremely well. Wes Matthews has always been a major contributor to that team. He's had some injury woes this year. He's not shooting the ball as well as he has in the past, but they are still playing well. It is early in the year. Maybe their schedule hasn't been the strongest, but at the end of the day, you still have to play against the teams that are in front of you. They are 18-15, and as you said, they are in the playoff picture, and they have been definitely one of the surprise teams, not only in the Western Conference, but in the NBA. But if nobody out there has seen Damian Lillard play this season, if you ever get the opportunity to see him play, he has a terrific talent. He is wise beyond his years. He plays with extreme poise and a lot of confidence. He wants the ball in his hands come the end of the game. He has tied or won a few games this year so far for the Blazers. So they are an exciting young team to watch going forward, that's for sure.
He is Mr. Dwight Walton. We're talking some NBA here on the program. Dwight, back in another time zone, another time frame when they had ugly uniforms and their biggest star was Derek Harper, you would expect a record like 13-21 from the Dallas Mavericks. Well, what's going on there?
Well, Dirk Nowitzki hasn't played for the whole year, Matthew, up until last week.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's kind of a good player.
Yes, sort of. So, although he may be slowing down a bit, listen, you cannot dispute his talent. He's definitely a Hall of Fame player, one of the best players ever to come out of Europe. Some may say that he is the best player ever to come out of Europe at this point in time, especially because he won a championship several seasons ago. But Dirk Nowitzki not being there has been a major factor, obviously. I like the way Vince Carter has been playing. He's had a little bit of a resurgence this season. And, of course, Rick Carlisle will always go down as one of the better coaches that we have in the NBA. So their 13-21 record is a bit skewed just basically because of the fact Dirk Nowitzki hasn't played for most of the season.
All right, and moving on here, the Bulls are a pretty good team right now. I mean, is it really realistic to think that Derrick Rose is going to have a big impact on this team moving forward?
Well, here's my opinion when it comes to knee injuries, especially with the way Derrick Rose plays. Can he come back this year? Yes, he can. If I was him at this point, I wouldn't rush it because he is the face of the franchise. He will be the reason why the Bulls will always be in championship contention in years to come. But if his knee is not fully right, the way he explodes off of his legs, he's more of a 2-foot jumper than he is a one-legged jumper at this point of his career. If he's not 100% right, he needs to sit out as long as it takes to get him right. But that being said, the way the Wolves have been playing, their defense strategy has been fantastic all year. That's what Tom Thibodeau, their head coach, preaches all the time, which is why they're still a factor in the Eastern Conference. If Derrick Rose does come back into the fold and shows anything, he will help the Bulls in the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, of course. But if I was him at this point, I really wouldn't rush back because I know that I have many, many years ahead of me to be a great basketball player. And, of course, as an athlete, you're competitive. You want to come back. You want to prove your worth. But at the same time, you have to be patient and think of not only the franchise, but your career going forward. So would Derrick Rose definitely make a difference in the Bulls' fortunes this season? Yes, he would. But at the end of the day, he has to think of his career if he really wants to have a longevity in the league.
All right, Dwight, just wanted to read out an email from Frank in Snowden. He's talking about the MVP race. He says he'd give it to Carmelo right now, who's averaging 29 points per game and leading the Knicks to the second-best overall record in the East. He's played the entire season so far without Amari Stoudemire. Second consideration should be Kobe, Durant, and James. All three players do have a stronger supporting cast than Anthony. That's why I think Anthony deserves the MVP at this stage. Your thoughts?
Wow. Okay, Frank. Well, there's one important player that you left out of that conversation, and that's the MVP of the NBA, in my opinion, and the best point guard in the NBA, who's Chris Paul. You can't deny what he means to that franchise, not only as a great player, but he was a culture changer. He brought a totally different attitude to the Los Angeles Clippers. That's been a perennial losing franchise. And now, because of his presence with the Clippers, not only are they hopeful that he signs next season, because he is there, other big-time free agents are going to want to play for the Clippers going forward. Now, we all know that they have a very stingy owner in Donald Sterling, but if he sees the result of this team winning, how they do in the playoffs this year, Chris Paul will attract big-time players to want to go play with him. You can see the camaraderie that the players have on and off the floor with the Clippers. They love being around each other, and it shows on the floor. And anytime you can win 17 games in a row, anytime you can have the best record in the Western Conference at this point in time, you have to like what they're doing. And to me, for my money, as of today, January the 6th, I believe Chris Paul is the NBA's most valuable player.
B-Ball Insider on Twitter.com is where you can find him online. And Dwight, is it still 9:30 Thursdays?
It's 9:05 on
9:05.
Thursdays. Yes,
9:05. 9:05. My bad, but I actually will set my alarm right now, see if I can hear that one this week. Thank you.
I would really appreciate that. Thank you very much, man.
All right. Thanks so much, Dwight. Really appreciate your time.
You have a good night. Have a great week.